Welcome to East Midlands Synod.
Thank you.
Yeah, could you just share with us where you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name, some people might know me. My name is Stuart Radcliffe. I am the Missional Discipleship Enabler for Mersey Synod. So I enjoy working with local congregations across the kind of Mersey region. That's Cheshire, the Wirral, and Liverpool, helping them think about mission, discipleship, church growth. And I really enjoy what I do with them there.
Oh, great. Yeah, and I've enjoyed getting to know you at the Mission Enablers Network as
Likewise.
well. Yeah, it's been good. So as a synod, we're exploring a theme of talking faith.
Mhm.
We've been thinking about that in response to the FIOS report, and what we're like as churches. And yeah, we've we know that you've already been doing this in the
Mm.
Mersey Synod. So yeah, what made you develop a talking faith theme in the Mersey Synod?
I think the Theos report's great because it puts down in black and white what I guess many of us suspected a long time before it was written, that
Mm.
we are, as a denomination, really, really good and at our kind of social outreach in the stuff our churches do across the whole denomination amazes me in the way that they reach out and support and help communities. But despite all of that, we're not very good about talking about Jesus. And so we wanted to, as a synod, to say, how do we help people to get better at it? This wasn't for us, a campaign that was to tell people what they weren't doing, but to help people to do what we believe they really wanted to do. And that was to tell more people about Jesus and to talk faith. Um, we were going to call it a time of looking at evangelism, but actually, so often we find what happens is when we start talking about evangelism, we spend more time debating what we understand the word to mean and less time actually understanding how we do it. So um, we thought, well, okay, how can we as a synod focus on different areas of church life that are important? So we decided to look at the 5 marks of mission, and we started with the mark that is tell, and we thought, well, we'll call it talking faith. How do we talk faith in everyday life to our friends, to our families, to our neighbours, to our colleagues at work, to the people that we live alongside all day long? And that's kind of where we came from. How do we say the reason that we do all the good stuff that we do in our churches is because we have a belief in Jesus, that Jesus comes to transform our lives, and we want to transform our communities. But we'd also like to get you to know Jesus because we believe that Jesus offers people a real sense of hope and transformation in their lives and communities.
Yeah, wow. And am I right in thinking you're coming towards the end of this 2-year focus on
Yeah, absolutely.
that?
So as you meet to talk about this at your synod, we will be in Liverpool, thinking about how we move on to the next focus, which we're looking at the teach one, and we're thinking about what does discipleship look like. So we're going to focus then on living faith. What does discipleship look like in our everyday lives? What does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus beyond the hour that we spend together at church on a Sunday morning? But the talking faith element will stay in there because as we've explored what discipleship means, we recognize that there's this big area, and in the middle, that there's a big crossover between talking faith to others and sharing faith, living as a disciple, both in word and action. So, what do our lives look like as disciples, and how do they speak of Jesus? But then also, if we're living lives that look distinctive, then are we taking the opportunity, so when people ask us why we do what we do, to still tell them about Jesus? So that it's not like, well, we've done 2 years now, that's it, we can forget about it, let's move on. And we're just kind of building layers up, I guess, of what a life as a follower of Jesus looks like.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So the talking faith theme, how did it look in action? Did you provide resources, run events? What did you do as a synod team for the local
Yeah,
churches?
we ran, if you like, first of all, a small pilot day where we got to see who was encouraged, and we said, this is what we were thinking about. And we got that feedback back that said that this is great and this is the kind of stuff we like. And then so we launched it then um, with what we a day that we simply called Talking Faith, which we held in one of our local churches. We had a keynote speaker by a name of a guy called Sam Ward. Sam is now the director of the Message Trust in Manchester. He was a member of the first Eden team that moved into a community in East Manchester and lived in that community to try and share with others the good news of Jesus, both in action but also in word. And he came and told us stories about how in that environment that he'd managed to talk faith to those that he lived amongst. And that was a really, really inspiring day. We then ran workshops that covered issues like talking faith and young people, talking faith in everyday life, talking faith in difficult situations. And we looked at all those kind of aspects of what that looked like. And that was really, really good. And we listened to people there. And what we heard quite loudly from that was that people wanted to talk faith. They wanted to be able to find ways to share their faith with people, first of all, without looking stupid.
Yeah.
And secondly, one of the things that stopped them, they told us, was that people were frightened about being asked difficult questions. And they felt like they needed more kind of confidence. So we went away and we explored that. And I'll come back to that in a moment. So we produced resources, we produced Bible studies for people. And that was really appreciated by churches, we're told, who went away and used that Bible study to struggle with everything they did. We also then used synod meetings to explore, well, how does the theme of talking faith go through our synod meeting? And we said that actually sometimes talking faith is about talking faith into specific areas of life. So we had a synod where our theme was, how do we talk faith in terms of the environment? So if we're going to be talking faith, what does that look like when we talk about environmental issues, about climate change? So we had workshops in synod where people could learn how to campaign, to write to their local MP, to lobby organisations to bring about change. We looked at churches who were talking faith through the community gardens that we use and that were helping people to access to grow fruit and vegetable that wouldn't be able to. We had a workshop that says, how do we talk faith through the small changes that we can make in our life, even if it's just as simple as swapping from a plastic toothbrush to a bamboo toothbrush. So we looked at all kinds of issues. So we've made sure that we talk faith in all aspects of everything we've done. We then direct response to that. How do we deal with, complicated questions? And we ran a workshop just recently called Courage, Confidence and Complicated Questions, where again we got some people in to help do that. We used an organisation called the Oxford Centre for Contemporary Apologetics. Words escape you and you just motion it. And they've not got the most exciting name. They were a lot more fun than the name suggests. And I think perhaps some people were put off by the word apologetics. But actually, what they came to do is say, how do we have those difficult conversations? How can we talk about Jesus without looking like an idiot? And that was really, really useful for those people that came and said it really helped. But what we've recognised is you can have some of the answers or some of the techniques to answer those complicated questions. You can have some more confidence, but what we need more than anything is courage just to go off and start those conversations and just trying to work with people to encourage them to say that, if you've got a great relationship with Jesus, why would you not want to share that with other people? Everybody, trust me, in our synod knows the football team I support. I have no issue with sharing the good news of being successive Premier League champions, but which, trust me, being a Manchester City fan does not go down particularly well in Liverpool. But why aren't we so open and excited about our faith? Because surely that's got to have more impact on our lives than our football team does.
Yeah. So, you've already started to touch on this, but so in what ways have local churches got involved in the theme themselves? Have they been exploring it in local congregations? And has it changed the way any churches do their mission?
So I'm not going to lie to you and say here that every single one of our churches has embraced this theme with enthusiasm and encouragement, but lots of them have. And what we found is that particularly lots of churches have gone through that Bible study and started to talk about a subject that 2 years ago people said, oh no, we can't talk about that, it's just too difficult. You're giving people skills just to, so in one of the workshops we said, just talk to the neighbour next to you and tell them your story of how you came to faith in the first place. And getting more confident to do that with one another means that we then get more confident to share that story with other people. So churches now start to think, well, actually, as well as all the other stuff that we do, giving an account for the hope that's within us, as we're told in First Peter, is actually really important. That's something that we need to be doing alongside our food bank or alongside our warm hub, or ideally, if the opportunity presents itself, in our food hub or in our warm space. But we really emphasize that this isn't about training people to go and stand in the fruit and veg aisle at your local supermarket and accost people, amongst bananas. This is an opportunity that when somebody says to you, what is it that makes you who you are, that we don't shy away from the answer, but we have to say, well, because we have this relationship with the living God who we believe loves us, but loves the world that we're part of, and we want you to know some more about that. And that's really the key. But I think what we're starting to do now is see that culture change within churches. And we've got, I'm not trying to paint a picture of perfection here. We have still got much work to do. And that's why I say, so when we move on to living faith, it's not that we've part talking faith, we're not going tick, dump that, and let's move on. We've still got much work to do, and churches work at different places on that journey. But now we're getting that culture change within churches, within Synod, within Synod committees and structures that say we've got to look beyond the functional, beyond the project, beyond the building, to say, okay, how do the lives that we lead make a difference to other people's lives, and how do we encourage them as well to start thinking what faith might mean for them?
Yeah. Are there any particular stories that you'd want to share from across your synods?
So talking faith hasn't sat in a vacuum on its own. We have run this alongside things like looking at the London Institute for Contemporary Christianity learning hubs that we've done with churches. What does whole life discipleship look like? How do we talk about faith in the terms of being whole of life disciples, not just for the hour we do on a Sunday morning? We've also looked at the Leading Your Church into Growth program that we've worked with churches. So we're seeing churches being more intentional now about how we share our faith, being more invitational. So we're finding now that because suddenly with that, recognizing that talking faith is something that should be important for us, that people are starting to say, oh, we've got this event on, I'm going, it's going to be good, do you want to come with me? And that's working with churches who've got like 7 members, and that's worked well with churches that have got 70 members as well. And so we've got a group of churches in St. Helens, in there, they've started saying, okay, as well as what we do personally in our own private lives, how can we, as churches, corporately do things together? So they, one of the churches there in St. Helens has started regularly handing bacon sandwiches out in the morning and just having conversations with people. They have got a building where they have lots of different building users in it. So at Christmas, they have this Christmas jumper carol service where there's an intentional invitation to those people to come and be part of the Alpha group that they're running after Christmas. A short message of hope given to that. And so what we're starting to see is people saying, actually, we've got a faith that we want to invite people so we can talk to Jesus about them, not just say, come in and use our building, come and use our facilities, but actually intentionally telling people who we are, what we believe and what we stand for.
Yeah, that's great. That's very encouraging. And anything finally that you would say to recommend to synods? Would you recommend synods to take time to explore this theme of talking faith?
I just think let's just do it. This is the part of our faith that we've kept to one side. The Talking Jesus report says that 1 in 5 people want to have a conversation about Jesus with us. That's 20%. And the other 80% who don't want to, all they're going to say is, no, I'm not interested, thanks very much. Nobody's going to get really massively upset with us. And saying we're not proclaiming that we make people street preachers. We're not saying to people, go up to your best friend and say, let me tell you about Jesus. We're saying that when the opportunity presents itself, then let your faith be part of that conversation, the same way as that your other interests are. You know, one of the greatest things that people are starting to get the courage for now is that when somebody talks about an issue that's going on in their life, people are starting to say, can I pray for you?
Mm.
And all those people that have taken that courageous step, nobody's come back and said, anybody said, no, thanks, I'd rather you didn't. Everybody said, that'd be lovely, thanks very much. And he said, just that small step, it starts to see the part of our lives that sometimes we just shut out, that actually this bit about faith, this bit about talking about our faith, about sharing Jesus is important to us. And we think it's important for other people. So that's just that kind of, just go and do it, see what happens, embrace it, and hopefully you'll have as much fun and as much joy from it as we've had as well.
Well, thanks very much, Stuart, and look
That's a
forward to
pleasure.
maybe sharing with you later as to how
I
it's
look
gone.
I look forward to hearing everything that you do. Thanks very much, Tom.
Thank you.